All right, back for more fun and games on my channel. Now I'm going to be playing the American Greetings Girls series characters on Classic Hunger Games Simulator. I'm warning you, this is not for kids. Ready? Shall we begin? We shall indeed. Here goes.
As the tributes stand on their podiums, the horn sounds. The camp bullies runs away from
Oh,
the
wait a
cornucopia.
minute. Hang on. Oh, I forgot. There we go. Now, let's give it another try. Here we go.
As the tributes stand on their podiums, the horn sounds. Amy Morris takes a sickle from inside the cornucopia. Cherry Jam takes a spear from inside the cornucopia. Huckleberry Pie finds a backpack full of camping equipment. Lemon Meringue runs away from the cornucopia. Station Manager runs away from the cornucopia. Ginger Snap runs away from the cornucopia. Robbie Hobby takes a handful of throwing knives. Aunt Jessie runs away from the cornucopia. Gary Hobby scares Blueberry Muffin away from the cornucopia. Carrie Baker runs away from the cornucopia. Seaberry Delight runs away from the cornucopia. Holly Hobby runs away with a lighter and some rope. Joan Hobby grabs a shield leaning on the cornucopia. Peppermint Fizz runs away from the cornucopia. Devin runs away from the cornucopia. Kyle Morris runs away from the cornucopia. Raspberry Tort runs away from the cornucopia. Plum Pudding runs away from the cornucopia. Strawberry Shortcake grabs a backpack, not realizing it is empty. Uncle Dave rips a mace out of Orange Blossom's hands. Jim Bitterman runs away from the cornucopia. Angel Cake grabs a shield leaning on the cornucopia. Cherry Jam stabs Kyle Morris with a tree branch. Amy Morris tries to spear fish with a trident. Joan Hobby tries to sleep through the entire day. Carrie Baker overhears Orange Blossom and Aunt Jessie talking in the distance. Peppermint Fizz overhears Gary Hobby and Devin talking in the distance. Strawberry Shortcake, Raspberry Tort, and Jim Bitterman hunt for other tributes. Plum Pudding chases Huckleberry Pie. Angel Cake goes hunting. Robbie Hobby thinks about home. Uncle Dave, Blueberry Muffin, Holly Hobby, and Lemon Meringue hunt for other tributes. Ginger Snap dies of dysentery.
Uh-oh.
Seaberry Delight tends to Station Manager's wounds.
Yee.
Station Manager screams for help. Peppermint Fizz forces Seaberry Delight to kill Holly Hobby or Strawberry Shortcake. She decides to kill Strawberry Shortcake. Blueberry Muffin and Robbie Hobby run into each other and decide to truce for the night. Uncle Dave quietly hums. Amy Morris cooks her food before putting her fire out. Angel Cake climbs a tree to rest. Aunt Jessie tends to Plum Pudding's wounds. Carrie Baker loses sight of where she is. Devin starts a fire. Gary Hobby and Lemon Meringue talk about the tributes still alive. Raspberry Tort receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Jim Bitterman loses sight of where he is. Huckleberry Pie thinks about home. Orange Blossom receives fresh food from an unknown sponsor. Joan Hobby thinks about home. Cherry Jam goes to sleep. Raspberry Tort, Plum Pudding, Seaberry Delight, Cherry Jam, and Orange Blossom hunt for other tributes. Huckleberry Pie, Lemon Meringue, Gary Hobby, and Carrie Baker hunt for other tributes. Robbie Hobby discovers a cave. Holly Hobby poisons Station Manager's drink. He drinks it and dies. Angel Cake, Uncle Dave, Joan Hobby, and Jim Bitterman raid Peppermint Fizz's camp while she is hunting. Blueberry Muffin receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor. Devin tries to spear fish with a trident. Amy Morris receives clean water from an unknown sponsor. Aunt Jessie is pricked by thorns while picking berries. Jim Bitterman cries himself to sleep. Joan Hobby, Robbie Hobby, and Cherry Jam discuss the games and what might happen in the morning. Holly Hobby tends to her wounds. Gary Hobby, Uncle Dave, Lemon Meringue, Raspberry Tort, and Seaberry Delight track down and kill Huckleberry Pie. Devin thinks about winning. Peppermint Fizz stays awake all night. And Jessie sets an explosive off, killing Plum Pudding.
Ooh.
Cherry Baker is unable to convince Blueberry Muffin to not kill her. Orange Blossom and Amy Morris sleep in shifts. Angel Cake sets up camp for the night. Orange Blossom, Lemon Meringue, Angel Cake, and Amy Morris track down and kill Uncle Dave.
Ooh.
Gary Hobby kills Joan Hobby for her supplies. Blueberry Muffin discovers a river. Raspberry Tort receives fresh food from an unknown sponsor. Seaberry Delight and Devon split up to search for resources. Robbie Hobby stalks Jim Bitterman. And Jessie is pricked by thorns while picking berries. Peppermint Fizz discovers a cave. Holly Hobby diverts Cherry Jam's attention and runs away.
OMG.
Amy Morris convinces Holly Hobby to not kill her, only to kill her instead. And Jessie defeats Jim Bitterman in a fight, but spares his life. Lemon Meringue is awoken by nightmares. Seaberry Delight climbs a tree to rest. Angel Cake cooks her food before putting her fire out. Orange Blossom and Peppermint Fizz run into each other and decide to truce for the night. Cherry Jam questions her sanity. Raspberry Tort cries herself to sleep. Blueberry Muffin sets an explosive off, killing Robbie Hobby and Gary Hobby. Devon receives fresh food from an unknown sponsor. Devon, Seaberry Delight, and Jessie, Angel Cake, and Jim Bitterman hunt for other tributes. Lemon Meringue accidentally detonates a landmine while trying to arm it. Amy Morris injures herself. Orange Blossom scares Cherry Jam off. Peppermint Fizz receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor. Raspberry Tort steals from Blueberry Muffin while she isn't looking. And Jessie receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Raspberry Tort, Cherry Jam, and Orange Blossom sleep in shifts. Devon tries to sing herself to sleep. Blueberry Muffin loses sight of where she is. Jim Bitterman receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor. Peppermint Fizz, Amy Morris, and Seaberry Delight get into a fight. Amy Morris triumphantly kills them both. Angel Cake tries to treat her infection. The cornucopia is replenished with food, supplies, weapons, and memoirs from the tribute's families. Devon, Orange Blossom, and Raspberry Tort unsuccessfully ambush Cherry Jam, Amy Morris, and Jim Bitterman, who kill them instead. Angel Cake decides not to go to the feast. Blueberry Muffin gathers as much food into a bag as she can before fleeing. And Jessie decides not to go to the feast. And Jessie strangles Blueberry Muffin with a rope. Angel Cake runs away from Amy Morris. Cherry Jam receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor. Jim Bitterman receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor.
Oh my.
Amy Morris, Jim Bitterman, Angel Cake, and Aunt Jessie sleep in shifts. Cherry Jam cries herself to sleep.
Oh, well, I don't want to print anything. There we go.
Angel Cake stalks Amy Morris. Jim Bitterman picks flowers. Aunt Jessie tries to spear fish with a trident. Cherry Jam explores the arena. And Jessie and Amy Morris hold hands. Jim Bitterman stays awake all night. Angel Cake bleeds out due to untreated injuries. Cherry Jam screams for help. Jim Bitterman scares Cherry Jam off. Why? And Jessie diverts Amy Morris's attention and runs away. Jim Bitterman scares Cherry Jam off. And Jessie and Jim Bitterman fight Amy Morris and Cherry Jam. Amy Morris and Cherry Jam survive. Cherry Jam stabs Amy Morris while her back is turned.
OMG.
The winner is Cherry Jam from District 12.
Yay. That was so Foolish. Anyways, that's going to do it for this gameplay. I'll see you for the next one.